Alright, Thrill Seekers, that was You're the One That I Want from the Grease soundtrack. As I said, not my favorite song of all time, but a really difficult one to play, at least for the likes of me. It causes a lot of tricky fingering where my fingers want to go across each other and stuff like that, so it was good to practice it. We played that I had a band that I was in when I first went to Japan, the first year I was in Japan, and it's called My Niece's Foot, and there's a couple of videos out there on YouTube of us, and we used to play that song. But at that time, I didn't learn the bass part right. I just learned kind of a fakey bass part that I made up myself that sounded close. But now I have learned the actual bass part and presented it to you, so there you go. Also, another bit of administration is that my book, The Other Side of Nothing, is now available for pre-order. So you can go to barnesandnobles.com, bn.com, or amazon.com, and you can pre-order the book. And pre-orders make my publishers happy because if they get a lot of pre-orders, they're like, hey, it's going to be great. So pre-ordered it. I know I am a bigger fan of supporting mom and pop brick and mortar stores. I am kind of more inclined to support Barnes and Nobles because at least they still maintain stores, but it doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, the amount of money I get per book is exactly the same whether you order it from Barnes and Nobles or Amazon or buy it at a mom and pop shop. So there you go. And the only place I get more money is if you buy it directly from me, usually in person at a book signing or something, but I don't have any of those lined up right now, so anyway, you can go pre-order that and make me look good. So, I got a question, and from before your sun burned hot in the sky and before your race was born, I have awaited a question. And here is the question. I am struggling with having a goalless practice. I'm curious if you have any insight. What is considered a goal? Should I not be setting goals like to meditate every day? Should I not have a goal to acquire wisdom or follow the precepts? Or is it more big picture things like a goal of enlightenment? Maybe these things have to start out as goals, but we shouldn't get hung up on them and just incorporate them into our being? ? Am I right in assuming that to practice Zazen is essentially practicing without intention? So, that's the question, and I get this question a lot. The goalless practice thing is one of the most difficult aspects of Zen practice. So, when the questioner asks, should I not have a goal of practicing every day, I thought about that in terms of my own practice, and I practice every day, I do Zazen every day, but I don't think of it as a goal. I don't have to sit there going, I have a goal of practicing every day. As I've often said, it's like brushing my teeth to me. It's not like I have a goal to brush my teeth every day or to brush my teeth 5 days a week or something like that. Some goal you might set. I just get up and I do it. I don't feel right unless I do it. Same with Zazen. I don't feel right unless I do it. If I skip it, if I have a day when I don't have enough time or something, or if I just am lazy, I feel weird all day. So I do it every day. As far as what were the other goals, he said, should I not have a goal to acquire wisdom or follow the precepts? The same thing there with me. As far as the precepts are concerned, I don't feel like I have a goal of following the precepts. I just follow them because they make sense, and life is better when I follow them. As far as a goal of attaining wisdom, I don't know. I don't really have a goal of attaining wisdom either. I enjoy reading Buddhist philosophy and enjoy learning things. I don't think of it as a goal to attain wisdom, anything like that. I think what we're talking about when we talk about goalless practice, it's a word problem. Did I say that already? It's kind of a problem of semantics. Nishijima Roshi's preferred way of expressing the same thing was to say that Zazen is a state without intention. And that caused him problems because he had a student who argued with him, and it's probably still preserved on the internet somewhere. Don't ask me where, but I remember there was this huge long thread, I think in Nishijima Roshi's blog, which was called something like Dogen Sangha blog, where he's arguing with one of his students about intention. And the thing is, you're always going to have some intention. Nobody starts off Zazen without any intention at all. But, like you have intend to, I don't know, become enlightened or get your act together or whatever it is. But in the moment of sitting, you throw that away. There's you're not trying to change this moment, this instantaneous moment of sitting, into something else in the future. Another area where this kind of came up in my life is I had a discussion with Nishijima Roshi one time when things were going really badly with Tsuburaya Productions, the company I worked for, the company that made Ultraman. And I said to him, I think the problem is we have no goals. The office I worked for, the international division, had no, seriously, we had nothing. There was no specific goal for what we were supposed to be doing. And I stopped myself and I said, well, I know Zazen is supposed to be goalless. And he said, no, but in business you have to have a goal. So there are places in activities you do where a goal is important. But Zazen itself is the state without intention, is the state without goals. And it's hard to find that state. I do this because I feel like it's a very little thin line. But let me tell you where Dogen talks about goalless practice. It's one of my favorite places, and it is a long, difficult chapter, and it is called Zazenshin, a needle for Zazen. And I have written about this, don't ask me where, because I've forgotten right now, but I know I've written about this because I remember making the joke, a needle in the butt of somebody sitting Zazen. So it's probably in Sit Down and Shut Up, maybe, not sure. It appears in Book 2 of Shobogenzo, which is available for free online, and if I remember, I'll try to put the link down below. But if you go to my blog, hardcorezen.info, there is a link to 2 different free downloadable versions of this book. So if you don't want to pay for it, you can go get it online. And Zazenshin, Dogen, gives a very long explanation of a certain very famous koan. And I'm going to give you a little bit of it here, because if I gave you the whole thing, this video would go on too long. So here we go. Zen Master Daijaku of Koze, after receiving the immediate transmission of the mind seal, and Nishijima Roshi in his footnotes, he says that means he learned the practice of Zazen. It could mean that he was made a master by his teacher, too. I'm not sure which of these, but Nishijima Roshi prefers the interpretation that it means he just learned to do Zazen. While learning and practice under Zen Master Dai of Nangaku, constantly sits in Zazen. Nangaku on one occasion goes to Daijaku's place and asks him, "Virtuous monk, what are you aiming at sitting in Zazen?" And that word aim is important because that's what we're talking about with goals. So there's different ways of saying goalless practice, practice without an aim, practice without attention, but this is what we're talking about. It's the same basic idea. What are you aiming at sitting in Zazen? Now, Dogen stops us here and asks us some really interesting questions. We should quietly consider and investigate this question. That is, we should consider in detail whether Nangaku is asking, is there an aim which might be superior to sitting Zazen? Beyond the framework of sitting in Zazen, has there never yet been a state of truth to aim at? Should we not aim at anything at all? As my questioner asked. Just in the moment of sitting in Zazen, what kind of aim is being realized? That's the one I'm trying to point you at in the earlier part of this video. More than we love a carved dragon, we should love the real dragon. That's a story, a reference to a story in which there's a guy who loves carved dragons, and a real dragon hears about how he loves carved dragons and says, I'm going to go visit this guy because he has a big collection of carved dragons. He'll love to see a real dragon. The real dragon comes to his door. The guy opens the door and goes, "Wah!" and faints dead away or runs away or something, because he can't stand real dragons. He just loved carved dragons. And I think the metaphor is kind of obvious. It's about people who love talking about Zazen, talking about Buddhism, discussing Buddhism, writing books about Buddhism, but they don't like to practice Zazen. And that's what that's about. We should learn that the carved dragon and the real dragon both possess the potency of clouds and rain. So he's actually saying there is value to the carved dragon, the studying of Buddhism, the learning of Buddhism as an intellectual practice. Ziggy is mostly Chihuahua. I just learned this. Ziggy, can I do my video? Ziggy, can I do my video? Alright, I'm gonna go see what he's barking at. He was looking at the door to my apartment, which is open right now, and barking, so I was like, did somebody get in the apartment or something? But no, there's nobody in there. Anyway, so we should... Hi, Ziggy. We should also value the carved dragon, which is intellectual study, and Dogen is a great example of that. And then he says, do not hold the remote in high regard, and do not hold the remote in low regard. Be accustomed to it as the remote. And then he says, don't hold the close in high regard. Do not hold the close in low regard. Be accustomed to it as the close. Now, my interpretation of that is the remote is your goal. And some people hold their goal in high regard and disregard this moment right here and now. Some people make the opposite mistake of holding the close in regard and thinking only of this moment and not bothering with what's remote, what's the goal. So the goalless practice isn't exactly goalless practice. This is always the way Zen is, isn't it? It's holding both. It's having the aim, but also paying attention to this moment. This moment is the aim. Here we go. Do not think light of the eyes, and do not attach importance to the eyes. Do not attach importance to the ears, and do not think light of the ears. Make the ears and eyes sharp and clear. And according to Nishijima Roshi's footnote, the eyes represents concrete things, like what's actually going on in this moment, and ears represents the intellectual function, what you think about things. And Dogen, as always, holds both of these in high regards. Koze says, what is he doing in Zazen? I am aiming to become a Buddha. I'm going to skip over a lot and go to the next line in the actual koan. Nangaku then picks up a tile and starts to polish it on a stone. Daijaku eventually asks, what is the master doing? Then again, there's a lot more discussion. Then Nangaku says, polishing it to make a mirror, polishing the tile to make a mirror. Mirrors in those days were highly polished pieces of metal, but a tile won't make a mirror, But Daijaku says, how can polishing a tile realize a mirror? Nangaku says, how can sitting in Zazen make you a Buddha? That's the basic koan, and Dogen discusses it a lot in this chapter, and I encourage you to go read it for yourself and see what it says there. But he asks a lot of good questions. And the point of all of this is that goalless practice is, I always think of it as in this very, as I said at the beginning, in this instant, no goal. So I'm sitting and being just what I am in sitting. On the other hand, I am also trying to do something. So I'm trying not to let the mind just wander off aimlessly or, think about my taxes. Which is what I'm usually thinking about this time of year. Thinking about all the stuff I got to do and whatever, or just daydreaming and whatever. Trying to not do that, but also trying not to invent a state that I want to get to, which is a product of my own mind. My own confusion invents what I think the enlightened state is, and then I am trying to compare the actual state at the moment to this imagination, this imagined enlightened state that I think must be better. That's what I'm trying not to do. I'm trying to stay with exactly what this is at this moment and not leave it. That is what goalless practice is. But of course, as I said, I'll go back to it again. You have goals in life. I had a goal to relearn the bass part to You're the One that I Want, and I worked on it for about a week or 2 weeks. I can't remember exactly when I started, and working on it, running through it several times a day until I got it. And then right at the beginning of this episode, I played it for you. I got all the way through it. It's just been in the last 3 days that I've been able to go from beginning to end of that bass part and get all the way through it. So that's a goal. That's practicing for a goal. But at the same time, in the moment of practicing, I have to get rid of the goals. And I can give you a concrete example that was happening constantly. Is I'd play the little riff that I was working on right, and then in my mind I'm going, oh, that it's coming up that next one where I have to do the stretch with my fingers. If I think about that next one where I have to do the weird stretch with my left hand fingers, this one I'm playing goes all to hell. And that happened over and over and over again. So the point is, you stay with this very moment, the actual, to stretch the metaphor beyond breaking point, stay with the riff that you're actually playing. Don't worry about that next one with the stretchy finger, until you come to it. Then you do that one, and then you go to the rest. That's that simple. So no goal, no intention, but goals and intentions. As Giorgio Tsoukalos did not say, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. Anyway, there you go. Remember to pre-order my book and have a good time all the time. Oh, sorry, I forgot. If you want to support me being able to practice bass some more and reach my bass goals, you can go to the URL you were seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my only way of making a living most of the time, and it is really important to me, so I thank you for your support. But as always, this is offered for free, so you don't got to donate if you don't want to donate. And I am probably going to move soon. I don't know. I'm looking at places that I might live, and one of the places I might move to has several universities and colleges in the vicinity. People have often said, hey Brad, why don't you teach at a college or university? I go, I've only got a bachelor's degree. They go, oh, you don't need an advanced degree if you're a published author. And I go, really? And that's as far as anybody ever tells me. So if you have any information about how you get a gig teaching at a university when you only have a bachelor's degree, but you're about to publish your 10th book, which I am, let me know in the comments, or go to the email address that I'm putting at the end of every episode, which you'll see at the end of this episode. Anyway, see you later. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Hey Ziggy, what's your goal? What's your goal? Do you have a goal of keeping the house safe from weird people who might go inside? Yeah? Is that your goal? How about we go inside and see if there's anybody in there? Okay?